We've talked about not believing in separation. We've talked about the body-mind that appears to us still being able to utilize concepts, but without that fundamental belief in separation being there. And we've also talked about and hinted at non-attachment. Non-attachment means not attaching, not holding on. Or as I've called it, letting go. To use a more traditional English word, you could use the word renunciation. To renounce means to let go. See, when we take ourselves to be separate, we develop lots of imbalances. And one of the fundamental imbalances we develop is we develop an unhealthy relationship with pleasure. And we seek pleasures in the world. And when I say world, I mean in the body, the mind, and the world. So we seek pleasures in the world of experience in order to try to fulfill ourselves. And why are we trying to fulfill ourselves? Because we believe in separation. And when you believe that you're a small individual entity and you're vulnerable to the big wide world out there, you feel cut off. And on some level, you don't feel complete. So we look for completion in the world, meaning the world of experience. And the teachings, and this teaching says that we have to let go of those pleasures, the egoic pleasures. We have to let go of our addiction to pleasure. Because that's all part of the me. That addictive process flows from the me. And when the me is no longer believed in, if there's a relaxation there too, then the wholeness is allowed in. This is why the relaxation is emphasized as well. Remember I said earlier, the letting go, the relaxation, it's primarily on the level of the mind and feelings. So we're letting go of our addictive tendencies. We're letting go of the addictive vasanas. We're allowing them to come along into our consciousness, to rise up, to sprout, but we're not acting on them. We're allowing them to express themselves, to feel them, and then to go. That's not always easy. So on the level of thoughts and feelings, there's no suppression. But on the level of action, there might need to be suppression. You might need to stop yourself acting out, depending what this tendency is. And you'll know, most of you here will be mature enough to know when a habitual tendency is egoic or destructive. You'll know in your heart, if you're honest with yourself. But you know when it's wrong, essentially. In Vedanta, there's this concept of dharma. And you'll know when something's good or dharmic. And you'll know when something's not good or wrong, we could say, or adharmic. So in this sense, dharma means basically ethical, wholesome action. And adharma means unethical, unwholesome actions. And some people can't tell the difference. But if you're mature enough, and if you're honest with yourself, you'll know in your heart what's right and wrong for you. Now, some of these addictive tendencies that we have, the destructive ones, are very, very powerful and deep set. And it might be that you have to even suppress them on the level of the mind or feelings as well in order to cope. So don't be afraid to do that if you need to. Because sometimes once it gets strong enough in the mind, it's difficult to stop yourself acting on it. And it depends on your circumstance as well. It depends what you're doing. It depends how tired you are. It depends how your day's been. It depends on a whole host of factors that determine how we act. But eventually, to become free of these addictive tendencies, we've got to allow them to flower and blossom within us and express themselves. Allow these urges and tendencies and habits to manifest and to be seen and to be felt. Because they're trying to teach us something, they're showing us something. There's value in learning and love and beauty there. And then allow them to die. And then we are healed and purified. And this is all a part of the me, the ego, the false sense of me dying, falling away, withering away. And as that happens, the more that happens, the more peace comes into our life. The less we worry, the more faith we have, and the more divine life becomes. All that's happening is that we're coming into contact with reality. And we're no longer distorted. The way we see life is no longer being distorted by this illusory sense and the illusory desires or distorting desires. And what we're left with is just pure simplicity itself. Nothing fancy. Nothing special. Just life. But devoid of those beliefs. Those limiting beliefs in separation, in a me. And an unfailing sense of peace. That's always there. Sometimes more obvious than other times. Sometimes at the foreground, other times in the background, but always there, enveloping everything.